Hey guys, Will here with some more Warlords of Draenor information. Today we're going to be talking about the racial changes. So Blizzard posted a blog post talking about how currently some racials are just too OP. And that's been a problem for a long time, right? High-end guilds have been race changing to usually horde races for a long time to get advantages, and a lot of people feel like they have to play humans in PvP for the every man for himself racial, which is very strong, because it allows them to have another trinket slot. So yeah, a lot of people feel that the racials have been very imbalanced for a long time. Like for example, the Troll Beast racial is amazing on some fights. It was very, very good in Throne of Thunder, because there were so many beast bosses. You had Tortos and Jikun and Horadon, but it's useless on others. When there's not a beast fight in a raid tier, that racial is completely worthless. Because hit and expertise are being removed, they have to have the hit and expertise racials changed, because those stats are being completely removed. Basically, what they wanted to do was bring down the outliers, which are really trolls and orcs. They're just too strong in terms of racial abilities. And then establish a new baseline for racials and bring everyone else up to that. They're just trying to balance the races, by improving old passives, replacing obsolete ones, and adding in some new ones. So first off, let's talk about the Alliance racials. So humans are going to lose the mace and sword specialization racials, which is the expertise stuff. The human spirit, the spirit buff that currently gives 3% spirit, will become plus X to 2 secondary stats. And responding to a tweet asking if that would be too powerful because it's customizable, Celestalon said that the downside is that it's split between two. For example, if haste is your best stat, 1% haste would be better than 0.5% haste and 0.5% crit. So even though you get to choose between two stats, your bonus will end up being split between those two, and so you won't get a huge bonus on just one stat. They're saying that every man for himself is still being evaluated. Itemization might mean that they don't have to nerf it necessarily, which is actually a little surprising. I'm pretty surprised they decided not to nerf that one yet, because that's probably the racial people complain about most. Draenei Heroic Presence is now plus X to primary stat, and Gift of the Naru heals for the same amount but over 5 seconds instead of 15, which is actually, that makes it a pretty useful self-heal, because currently Gift of the Naru is pretty much worthless, and Heroic Presence used to actually be really good because it increased every party member's hit and expertise, I believe, or maybe just hit, and now it's kinda lame, but turning it into a X to primary stat, that's pretty useful. Night Elf Quickness now also increases movement speed by 2%, that's a nice little flavor racial, and they've got a new passive called Touch of a Loon, which gives 1% haste at night and 1% crit during the day. Now that seems a little bit weird, and responding to a tweet saying that some specs might find this annoying because they benefit from one and not the other, Celestalon says that they're trying to make sure that everyone benefits from the stats. Like right now Feral Druids, for example, don't really benefit from haste very much, but crit is decent for them. And so they're trying to make it so that all the stats, well, you will have your best stats, they want to make it so that no stat is terrible for any spec. And Shadow Meld is remaining unchanged. That makes sense. It's always been a nice racial, there's no real reason to change it. The Gnome Escape Artist racial is being dropped to a 1-minute cooldown from 1.5, and the Short Blade specialization has become Nimble Fingers, which is 1% haste. Expanded Mind, which was 5% maximum mana, has become 5% max mana, energy, rage, or runic power. Now that's really awesome, getting more to all your resources, because currently it's only mana, so really if you're not playing a caster, you're kind of missing out, and now it'll be for basically every class and every spec. That's really cool. Worgen racials, including Darkflight, are basically unchanged. They say that they are already pretty much the baseline they're going for. There's no real reason to change them. They're not too overpowered or underpowered. They're fine. Dwarves are losing their Crackshot and Mace specialization racials, but they've gained Might of the Mountain, a passive 2% crit damage and healing buff. Stone Form now also removes magic and curse effects, and it cannot be used as a CC break. So definitely, if you're stunned or incapacitated, you can't use it to remove those debuffs, even still. Now let's talk about Horde racials. So the Undead, the Forsaken, are getting relatively few changes. They're changing the scaling rate on Touch of the Grave, just tweaking it a little bit, and Will of the Forsaken is on a 3-minute cooldown from 2, probably to make it more on par with every man for himself in that regard. Blood Elves are getting a new passive called Arcane Acuity, which is a 1% crit, and Arcane Torrent now restores 20 runic power, 1 holy power, 3% mana, rage, and chi. So basically trying to make the Arcane Torrent just a little bit more useful to the various specs. I believe it actually used to be better, like I believe it gave 6% mana before, but then it was nerfed down to 2% in Pandaria, I believe, so now they're buffing it back to 3% a little bit, and I don't know, they're trying to make it a little bit more useful overall. I believe the silence effect on Arcane Torrent is staying. They're trying to remove a lot of silences, but I believe that this one is staying in. Orcs overall were nerfed. They're losing their axe specialization. Hardiness is now 10% stun reduction, down from 15, and Blood Fury is unchanged. Torn Endurance has become plus X stamina. Brawn is a new passive, increasing crit damage and healing by 2%. Again, similar to the new dwarf one. Troll Berserking has been reduced to 15% from 20%, and Deadeye has been removed. Beast Slaying now increases XP earned from killing beasts by 20%, instead of damage against beasts by 5%. That's a pretty big change. I mean, killing beasts XP by 20%, that's pretty minor compared to the 5% damage buff. Goblin racials are basically the same, except time is money has become 1% haste, instead of just attack speed and cast speed. It's a pretty small difference, but it is a slight one. Anyway, that's all the racial changes we know about so far. What do you guys think? Do you like how they've kind of decided to buff some and nerf some? I was kind of expecting that they would just remove a lot of the combat racials entirely, instead of really adding new ones and things like that, but I kind of like the approach they're taking. It means you'll still have a combat effect from basically every race, but they'll be more balanced overall. I kind of like how they decided to do that. Anyway, that's all from me for now. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.